this session is going to be run kind of like a panel. So each of us will give a little bit of an introduction of ourselves, of our institution, or the program that we work for, a little bit about what we do, and then we'll open it up to questions. So I guess I'll go ahead and jump in and get started. My name is Josh Owens. My pronouns are he, him, his. I work for Augsburg University, which is located in Minneapolis, Minnesota, about a 2-hour flight from Denver. A little bit about Augsburg. We're a little bit of a smaller institution, about 2,200 undergraduate students on our campus. We also have graduate programs. We are right in the heart of Minneapolis, so located just to the east of downtown Minneapolis. We are the most diverse private institution in Minnesota. About 56% of our students consider themselves students of color. And then on the disability service side of things, we have our Center for Learning and Accessible Student Services, which is housed in the Gage Center. That is it's an endowed office through the Gage Foundation, which does a ton of nonprofit work supporting different institutions and groups and organizations that help with disability resources. So super thankful that that program works with our office. We have 4 different disability specialists in our office, including a technology specialist. So a lot of things that our students are able to utilize while they are on campus. I will pass it on to Tamara.
Thanks, Josh. Hello, my name is Tamara Russo. I'm with Lynn University. Lynn is a small private school down in South Florida in the heart of Boca Raton. We have about 3,000 students, 45 undergraduate majors. We do have some master's level programs and 1 doctorate program as well. Lynn's program for learning differences is called the Institute of Achievement and Learning, or IAL for short. So we use IAL, or the Institute, to refer to that program. And it is a 1-year program designed for students to make that transition to college. Have that mentor. You meet with your mentor once a week or bi-weekly, and you're learning test-taking skills. You're learning how to time manage. You're learning how to take notes in the classroom. If you need to write an email to your professor to advocate, you will sit down and write that email together. So you're really learning how to go to college with all of these great resources. These professionals are professionals. They are trained staff. They all have masters in their field, and they're all licensed. Tutoring comes from those professionals as well. So it's not peer-to-peer tutoring, it's tutoring with a professional. The idea is that it is a 1-year program so that your 2nd, 3rd, and 4th year, you're taking what you're learning and you're growing. We understand that when you graduate college, you're not going to have that safety net and you're kind of out in the real world. So we want you to be able to sink or swim in the comfort of Lynn and IAL. And I'm going to pass it over to Corinne at Marist.
Okay. Well, good morning. My name is Corinne Schell, and I'm Director of West Coast Admission at Marist College, which is located in Poughkeepsie, New York, about an hour and a half north of New York City. We're a private 4-year liberal arts school with a little over 5,600 undergraduate students. At Marist, we do have the Office of Accommodations and Accessibility, which serves our students with disabilities. And the mission of the Office of Accommodations and Accessibilities is to support students with their documented disabilities in becoming empowered, independent learners by providing the appropriate accommodations and services necessary to access their educational opportunities at the college. We do provide resources for the students. It's a fee-based program, again, which provides the students whose primary disabilities is LD and or ADHD. Excuse me. What else do I want to? We provide all types of assistance to the students through a specialist role. They provide writing assistance. They teach the students academic strategies. They assist them with time management and their organizational skills. And they assist students with accessing campus resources. They really do encourage self-advocacy for themselves, and they provide academic support for the students as well. Other components of the learning program, we have a AIM, which is Achievement, Involvement, and Mentorship Program. This takes place at the beginning or right before the start of the academic year as an incoming freshman. and assist the students with their academic and social transition to the college. So these students arrive on campus a few days prior to the start of school, kind of get acclimated. They meet with their support specialist and kind of create their perfect schedule. And again, they help those students kind of adjust to the socialization and academics of the college and university. Marist is actually one of the top schools for learning support programs in the country. The woman who started our program back in the 70s, when she moved west, she was instrumental in starting the SALT program at Arizona. So needless to say, we have a pretty good program at Marist, but we do provide them with the support such as books in an alternate format, note-taking services, testing accommodations, whether it's a reader, scribes, calculator, computer, use of adaptive technology. They'll do books on tape. They provide them with extended test time. But overall, you know, it's an amazingly wonderful program for our students. And I'm now going to pass this over to our colleague.
I'm supposed to be the moderator here. My name is Michelle Stiller from Aspen High School. I had a hard time getting into this room. I've been sitting in another room for 30 minutes by myself. And so I'm in.
Oh my gosh.
I apologize for not giving you the adequate Q&A or introductions, but technical issues. I'm in, and I have an autistic child, and he was a student in the gen ed population at Aspen High School. So I was just so happy that you guys agreed to come do this, because he's a freshman, and I know of a lot of friends with learning differences kids. I don't even know what the word is. I see learning differences. I go into a website called Higher Inclusive Education. I don't even know what the correct verbiage is these days, but I'm all in, and I just want to say thank you. So
absolutely.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Now we'll turn it over to Tara.
Yeah.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. My name is Tara Hitzig, and I am with College Living Experience. We are an organization that's been around since 1989. We started out in Florida, and we now have 7 locations across the United States. So we're in Fort Lauderdale, the Washington, D.C. area, Nashville, Austin, Denver, Colorado, Monterey, and Costa Mesa, California. And what College Living Experience is we are a wraparound support services organization for post-secondary education. So we work with young adults that have graduated, ages between 18 to 30, that are looking to launch into independence. And they're either pursuing 2 different pathways. They're looking at academic or career, or they're kind of going between both. Maybe they're looking at vocational or certifications. So what we work with and help with these students is we help them with their academic pathway. We help them with their career pathway. We work with independent living skills, executive functioning, as well as social programming. So we work with neurodiverse students, and many are on the autistic spectrum disorder, ADHD, learning differences, executive dysfunction, and we are helping them to launch successfully. Usually many students come and stay with us for 1 year. We have students that stay 2 to 4 years throughout their whole academic career, or they're just coming in. So we are assisting them that they can go to the college, live at the dorms on their own, and be successful in doing so. Our program consists of about minimum 20 to 25 hours a week of assistance. And that is going to be 2 hours of tutoring for each class. Our academic coordinator gains a FERPA and helps with everything at the college level, from working with their professors, making sure they get the accommodations that they need, getting the special tutoring, which includes executive functioning for each class that they have. Then we look at their social programming, and we have social events. one-on-one social coaching, social engagement groups, and social outings, which is exploration groups such as transportation, learning how to navigate the city, learning how to navigate the dorms or the campuses, or getting to their jobs, whatever that may be. That's all included in the social programming. And the independent living aspect is they actually live with us in apartments, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 2 roommates. We do roommate meetings. We help with cooking, cleaning, laundry, medication, prescriptions, financing, budgeting. We do all of their paying their rent and helping them with paying their bills, actually becoming full functioning adults. And that's basically what College Living Experience does. All right.
I think you were muted.
I'm muted?
No, our moderator.
It's the moderator. Yes.
Sorry, yes, I was muted. I'm really bad at the Zoom business. I really want to get back to in person. Sorry, Jake. Or Josh. Sorry, Josh. Sorry.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, so do you have like specific questions that you'd like to
Should we
pose
wait
our
to the
way, or-
end, or should we?
So I think the way we were going to kind of structure this is do our introductions and then open it up to questions. So if you have specific ones, or if
Yep.
Susan, if you have specific questions that you'd like to ask as well, feel free to jump on in and we'll go from there.
I just want to say thank you so much for having this panel. We have a son who is not neurotypical.
Welcome
So-
to the club, Susan.
Yeah, and I know there are many people in this boat, and I think having the Western Slope College Fair online provides an even greater barrier to a lot of families who are trying to figure out their pathway. Our student has comorbidities, but specifically ADHD and mood disorder. And he has transitioned from private therapeutic environments outside of our state, where he was for middle school and earlier part of high school, and then returned to high school here in our valley. And he has transitioned beautifully into the mainstream classroom environment. And we are just trying to figure out what is it that we need to look for in various colleges and universities. He definitely wants to go to college. But what do we need to look for to ensure that he can have not only the academic support, but also the social emotional support? And really, how does that work? We've been using a website called, I think, LD Colleges and Universities, which we found through the ADHD Support Network, and obviously worked with our prior schools to get recommendations on what they would suggest that we look for. And I've just often found that I'm not really quite sure what I'm looking for. And it sounds like each of your programs provide, the academic and social supports, and that's been a nice overview. But I would love to hear more specifically, how do students apply for these supports? At what time? What is a typical, what are the typical required pieces of documentation that would enable the students to get this kind of support in your institutions? I'll start if that's okay. Excuse me. I think that the biggest thing since we all offer the social and academic component of what it is that you're looking for, I really think, number one, size of college or university may play a role in his comfort level. Also, the best thing to do is, if you can, is of course to visit the college or university. I feel that you'll know, and he will know the minute that you step foot on campus, if it's the right fit. And again, it's all about the fit. So I just really feel that that's one of the things that you need to do, and to speak to the director of the program, maybe some of the specialists within that area, and get a sense and idea if you feel comfortable with them working with your son. So the application for the Marist Learning Support Program, students have to apply to the traditional undergraduate program, as well as to complete a separate application for the Learning Support Program, which is considered a supplemental application. There is an essay for each of the different apps or applications. There has to be a recommendation from the resource room teacher or a tutor, disability documentation. And then in regards to the disability documentation, the results of a psychoeducational evaluation, which is the WAIS or the WISC, and it must be from 10th, 11th, or 12th grade. The diagnosis of the LD or the ADHD, subtest scores, a narrative and history, specific recommendations for accommodations, and then current levels of achievement in math, reading, and written expression. And then, of course, a big piece is the most recent IEP or the 504 plan. I mean, those are what we require at Marist. Again, we are all different in regards to what our colleges offer, what requirements are requested from an applicant. So, I just think it's what you're doing is the right thing. You're researching the different colleges and universities, but I think if you have that opportunity to speak with somebody from the particular support program at the different colleges, and again, if you have that opportunity to visit, that would be so incredibly helpful for you and your son.
Thank you. That's really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
I have two questions on the information you just shared. In terms of the current documentation required, specifically the psych eval, you mentioned that should be from the 10th, 11th, or 12th grade. So what I'm hearing is something within the last most current years. So if we had something before, we should plan to make time to have that redone.
Yes, absolutely. And I guarantee any of my colleagues here would tell you the same thing, that more than likely, if you were to apply to each one of our colleges, that and you didn't have a most recent up to date, they may recommend that you do that anyway.
Mhm.
Okay. And then the second question I have is, I believe I'm hearing that it's standard practice to apply to the university
Mm-hmm.
first and receive your acceptance second before you apply for any further accommodations.
No, at Marist, it's the same. And again, we could be different, and I'll refer to my colleagues on that. But at Marist, we do require the student to apply for regular undergraduate as well as the learning support at the same time. We do have deadlines for the different, whether it's EA, ED, regular decision. So you don't want to miss out on that, because I'm sure at each of our programs, we can only accommodate X number of students in the program. So you don't want to miss the deadlines. And for us at Marist, if a student is not admissible to the full service program, depending on what the student's learning disability is, they will provide the resources necessary for them to succeed, both socially and academically. But, again, you don't want to miss out on the deadlines for the different programs. But I'll refer to Tamara, Tara, and Josh for their institution.
Yeah, these are great questions that you're asking, Susan, because every school is different. Regardless, or take out learning differences, we have different applications and we look at different things and different deadlines. So this is great. At Lynn, students will first apply to Lynn and they will need to be academically admissible to the university, regardless of any learning differences. In the Lynn application, students interested in the IAL will check off that they are interested in those services in that program and will have to have a separate application for the IAL. The reason being is that they do require that psycho evaluation and a 504 IEP plan, whatever documentation the student has. That application with those documents will go over to the academic center. IAL specifically.
What is an IAL?
IAL is the Institute of Achievement and Learning, our learning difference program.
Okay, so is that just to Lynn University or is that to everybody?
Yep. Nope, Lynn's specific learning difference program is called Institute of Achievement and Learning.
So much of this is understanding all these acronyms. Achievement Learning.
Yep, Institute of Achievement and Learning. It's a long name, so we call it IAL.
Unique to Lynn. Got it. Okay.
Yes. So that separate the supplemental application for IAL and the documentation will go over to that center, the IAL center. And they're reviewing and looking just to make sure that the support the student needs is the support that they can provide. So it's not a matter of we're going to deny the student from the program. They just want to make sure it's a best fit for both the student and the professionals, and that it's a good match. And what the student needs to succeed is exactly what IAL can provide. So it is kind of a two-step process, but I will echo what Corinne said. My biggest piece of advice is to reach out to the specific learning difference programs just to make sure that you are comfortable and that what your son or student needs is exactly what they're going to get at that specific school. So that is my biggest piece of advice.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Tamara, does Lynn, where my brother went and he was learning disabled. So when I saw this here, I was like, I gotta go in. So it's a gen ed campus. Is it a gen ed campus with LD or IAL?
Yes.
Because I'm looking at Tara and her and college living is not a gen ed experience. That is strictly for, as my family calls it, for special needs. So
yes. No. So Lynn is a liberal arts college that specializes in IAL. Their last year, we had about 168 students partaking some sort in the IAL program, and we have a campus of 3,000.
So only a small amount of kids are accessing this. So it's more of a gen ed college with an ample support for special needs.
Yes, it is. But I will say our campus environment, because we are small, our average class size is 18. We don't have large lecture halls on campus. They don't exist. We don't have any lectures on our campus, right? So even for students that aren't learning different, can still have access to that professor, still have access to small class size. So exactly what Corinne was saying, the academic environment for the university, regardless of any learning difference or not, is exceptional, right? Students have access to the professor knows their name. If you need something or advocate for yourself in the classroom, that can happen pretty easily. And so our IAL students are really utilizing that academic experience because it's kind of built within the university, right?
Got it.
We don't have large lecture halls, so they're not getting lost.
Got it.
Have that one-on-one access.
Got it. Thank you.
And so then just to let you know, college living experience is a little bit different than my colleagues, as we are not a higher education center. So what our students do is they come and are admitted. They go through a very similar process as Corinne had mentioned, but in each of our locations, our students are allowed to choose any institution that they would like to go to. So in Denver, we have students going to DU, Metro, UC, CU, Regis, the community college. Then we have them going to vocational schools such as TACT, Emily Griffith. So they're really with us as we're supporting them in all of the services. So when they decide to move onto campus, they have the skills that they need if that's their choice. And then other students come to us that are really only looking for a career path. They are not interested in a 4-year college degree, or maybe they're not even interested in a 2-year college degree. We have some current students that are doing programs at community college for certifications, for example, in welding, machinery, paralegal studies, EMT. We have someone becoming an EMT. And then we have traditional students that are going, for instance, to DU, but they need a little bit more support than maybe what the DU LEP program can offer. So we partner with the LEP program at DU, and we give them the deeper supports. As I mentioned, we're doing probably 20 to 25 hours a week with them. So it's a little different because we are not actually the institution. And we have 29 students right now. We would not have more than probably 35. And usually, 29 is a very good fit. So it's a very, everything is really one-on-one, but depending on what school they go to, it's going to be different than Tamara was discussing. That's just their choice. So that's kind of how CLE fits in with the rest of the universities. I just wanted to kind of help clarify.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's really helpful, Tara. Thank you. So just to clarify, are your 29 students living at your program in Denver, but then attending these other institutions, or just getting additional support at your location?
Right. So we have 20 students currently living with us. The other students are either what are called day students. So they live in the Denver area and they still live at home or in their own apartment. And then we have some students that we call transitional, meaning they are trying to get into college. We're helping them in the process of getting into the school of their choice and teaching them all the skills, maybe about 5 hours a week prior to them attending. So, and then all of our well, not all of them, but majority of our students are with us and they're going to the different institutions within the Denver area. Does that help?
So you as the college living experience company secure housing in Denver or some of these other geographic places?
Yes, exactly. All of our locations have housing, and they will live, all of them are 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and they learn the experience of what it will be like when they go to one of the universities.
So it's like a mock or a
Almost
precursor.
mock. Yep.
Got it.
Yep.
Jake, Josh, I'm sorry. I feel like we're not letting you chime in here.
That's all right. These are great questions. So
I want to know about
kind
Augsburg.
of sitting back and letting it roll. Yeah, I think on the Augsburg side of things, we're very similar in what Tamara and Corinne mentioned. The biggest difference that we're going to have in terms of the application process is everything is built into our application for admission. We don't have a separate application for our class office, our Center for Learning and Accessible Student Services. The way that ends up working is very similarly. So, a student is going to apply to Augsburg and is going to need to be academically admissible. There are places on the application to give some additional information about maybe a 504 plan or different accessibility options that the student has utilized while they've been in high school. And so that can help us take kind of that holistic approach as we're looking at, okay, what are some things that the student has going on outside of the classroom that's and inside the classroom that we utilize as we're looking at the application and determining eligibility for admission. Once a student is admitted, or even prior to that, if they want to, our biggest recommendation is for them to sit down and chat with a disability specialist in our class office. And that's gonna give them, and you as the parents, to them as the student, an idea of, what are the support systems that are available? What are support systems that the student has had in the past that have worked? What are some things that haven't worked? And then what are the options at Augsburg for your students? And I think the biggest piece of advice kind of echoes what others have said. Getting to know the campuses, and if you're able to visit, and sitting down with the support systems that you may have at those specific universities to see how how it would fit. I always recommend doing that sooner rather than later. Susan, I think you mentioned that your student is a freshman, so you have some time to take a look at some different institutions and kind of get the different options and see what's available, which is great. I think some of our students wait until the summer before they start college, which can sometimes be a little bit too late. So as you're applying to schools, make the application process make part of the application process connecting with the different disability resources on those campuses, and kind of help that point you in the right direction of where your student wants to end up.
When you guys say academically admissible, what does that look like? Like, are you sort of, I don't know, assessing the level of disability? Can you function here?
Well,
What does that mean?
At Marist, I mean, that's why students complete the traditional undergraduate application as well as the learning support application. If a student is not admissible to the full service support program for our accommodations and accessibility, yet they are admissible to the college based upon what our, the GPA, if they submit their standardized test scores, we want to make sure that they can succeed academically without the support that they may have needed.
Josh, is Augsburg, is it gen ed with inclusion, or is it strictly a special needs college?
Yeah, great question. So we are liberal arts institution, so general education with support system built in. Yep.
How many of your kids have support, and how many are just general education students, and how big is the university?
So we're about 2,200 undergraduate students, and the last number I heard, probably it fluctuates because our program can accommodate kind of long-term accommodations and disabilities. It can also accommodate, if a student gets a concussion and needs, a couple of weeks worth of accommodation. So it fluctuates, but typically we sit at about 150 of our students are utilizing consistently our Center for Learning and Accessible Student Services.
I also want to clarify the number of students at Lynn. Because it is a one-year program, it's 168 students within the incoming class of 850. So it's about 20% of our incoming students that utilize IAL, not 168 of the whole population of 3,000, because it is a one-year program. So it is a good chunk of our students.
Well, if it's a one-year program, what happens to the other 3 years?
So the program was designed to have students kind of come in and learn and soak up all of that information and learn how to advocate and for themselves and take notes and all those great things, and then go off and flourish.
Okay.
After the second, third, and fourth year, we do offer what we kind of call an a la carte service, where students can pay out of pocket for a specific service they need, but it is not the full year program. It is designed that way because we understand that when you graduate, you're not going to have that kind of cushion, if you will. And so we want students to be able to sink or swim at Lynn, where they still have those resources, but kind of that real world experience of once you graduate, you're kind of on your own and you have to speak up and advocate for yourself. So it is a one-year program for that reason.
Got it.
And ours is a 4-year program, but we've had students who decide in the junior year or the senior year that, they're okay. They don't need everything that the full service will support. And like Tamara said, we will then provide them with the a la carte. Maybe they only need additional test time, or, books on tape, things like that, where they will do fine academically without that additional support.
Okay, so like, for example, I have a child who fine motor really cannot write. He's great in the head, but getting it on paper, not happening. Does that make him academically not admissible, or is that pretty textbook for what you'd call and he's a freshman? What does that look like in college? Like, test taking would be hard. I don't see us taking the SATs or ACTs or any of that frustration level. And Susan, maybe you could chime in. I don't even see that even being in our ballpark.
I think
Does that just make us not even apply to the, like, are you all taking SATs and ACTs for your learning disabled students? Susan, are you going to be doing that? Is that in your wheelhouse? Like, what does that look like?
Well, we're specifically looking at schools that are test optional, because standardized testing is of particular challenge in our respect.
Us too.
But we are looking at general ed, academic colleges and universities, and specifically colleges and universities that our son is interested in, and then supporting that with the research of what supports are provided there, and will there be an environment available for him to succeed if he needs that extra help, which we're just trying to get ahead of. So we're not necessarily looking for a very narrowly focused service program, but it sounds like that's something that you may need.
Yeah, I just don't know. I mean, when I tell you this is really it's wonderful, but I have no idea. Like gen ed with support, strictly like what Tara has to offer. I mean, this for me is just going to soak it all in. I have no idea.
Yeah, and I would recommend exactly what everyone has said. If you can, because he's a freshman and you have time, visit or have phone calls with individual locations and just learn as much as you can, because there is a lot out there for supports. It's just finding the right fit, the best accommodations that you need and what you're looking for, and learning as much as you can. It's a lot. I know it's a lot. So good for you. It's going to be hard, but.
And then I see you just messaged, I would love to ask you guys about the parental involvement with the student success. Like, once we send our kids to any of your programs or help, what does the parents' involvement look like? Because right now I go into the resource room, I fill up the water bottle. I do a lot. I'm sure, Susan, you probably do too.
So college is a different beast when it comes to accessibility and kind of the parent involvement. And a lot of that comes from the fact that once a student is a college student and they're 18, they're an adult. And we treat them as such legally. Now, with that being said, we also know that there's a lot of parent involvement throughout the high school years, and that can be a really hard transition for the parents. So on the Augsburg side of things, our class office really tries to focus on having the conversation with the student and allowing the student to kind of take the lead, but also understanding that the parent is going to be there for that support. And the parent may be the one that really knows the kind of the more kind of paperwork side of things and what's gone well and everything that's gone into it. So it's a transition where the student really is the leader of what they're doing and all the things that they are required to do on the college side of things, but also then obviously understanding that the parents have been very involved and can still be involved.
Thank you.
Lynn, if parents call the IAL office, they will answer and they will talk to parents. We understand that what Josh was saying, that transition is difficult for kind of everyone in the family unit to make that transition to college. And we want to be able to respect that once you're in college, your child is an adult and they are in college and they need to start speaking up for themselves. What we always like to say is we won't go knocking on your child's door to make their meeting, but once they're there in the meeting, we will help them succeed. And so it really is that transition of, I have an appointment at this time, I need to wake up and I need to get there. But we also know that sometimes the parents used to wake children up and get them ready for school. So if they will accept parent phone calls, but they won't be calling the parents weekly to give them updates and things like that. But we understand that parents are worried and scared, and they also want to see their child succeed. And we will answer those phone calls.
Thank you.
And I can let you know that with College Living Experience, we have a portal. Parents are very involved. It's almost like a medical portal where every week or even daily, but usually weekly, you can go in and you can read every meeting that they have. We do notation. And so the tutors, the social coaches, the advisors, the academic coordinators, the career coordinators all put notes in, and it instantly goes into the parents, and the parents can read all that information and then get very involved as much as they would like. But we do ask for, if the student calls the parent and says, I need this, that they first learned, have you contacted your advisor? Have you talked to someone at CLE? So they learn independence and learn that they can't keep calling mom and dad or family for that assistance.
Hallelujah.
And one thing that I wanted to clarify or add to what I had mentioned. So what I was talking about, kind of legally, and how that student transitions to being an adult, it really falls under FERPA, so the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. And most institutions, I think probably all, but specifically talking about Augsburg, students are able to give access to other people in their file. So whether students are comfortable giving you financial access or academic access, they are able to do that. So it's not like as a parent you're kind of shut out completely. It is that conversation that that you have with your student of them going in on their portal and giving you access to certain things. But that's what it falls under is FERPA.
Thank you. Well, it looks like we have about 2 more minutes before we go into our next meetings. Does anyone have any more questions or anything you want to say?
I'm going to put my contact information
Thank you.
in the chat box. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out. I know that myself and my colleagues here can more than likely connect you to the directors of the programs that we have at our schools.
You guys are awesome. I'm feeling really hopeful is the word I'm looking for. And Susan, you probably would agree that this journey is challenging. So sort of looking on 4 years out, 3 years out, it's just, it's good to know that we have choices to support our neurodiverse crew.
I just want to say thank you. It's been really helpful and informative.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Well, enjoy the rest of the programming, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to pop around and see what's going on. Thank you guys.
Thank
You were
you.
awesome.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye.